All right, good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Thank you for joining us today on another webinar, part of our webinar series, CSUF series from Outreach and Recruitment. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Nancy Trin. I am an Outreach and Recruitment counselor here at Cal State Fullerton. And I'm very excited to introduce our presenters today. We have guests from our Student Business Services Department, and they will be presenting on their services in their department and answer all of your questions today. So I'll hand it off to Anthony Fang.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is the first time we're doing this, so we're kind of excited. Normally, we do this presentation with the Office of Financial Aid, typically during orientation, freshman orientation, transfer orientation. Welcome to Fullerton Day. We co-opt with the Office of Financial Aid to present some information because we are kind of married, our department. We oftentimes will have the Office of Financial Aid work next to us with a lot of the accounts for students. One way I like to describe our two offices is like a grocery store. So imagine if you're at a grocery store, if you are checking out stuff in the grocery, you're putting oranges in your cart, you put milk, apples, whatever you want. And when you go to the check stand, that's us at Student Business Services. The Office of Financial Aid and other partners on campus, they will be the ones that process with these ways to help pay for the tuition and fees. When you go through the cashiers, you have to talk to the cash register person, cashier, and then when you check out the apples, oranges, milk, you have to pay with either cash, check, debit, or maybe you had a coupon, maybe you had a gift card, maybe you had all these things to help pay for it. That's what the financial aid can do with grants, loans, maybe you have a scholarship. So they are kind of like coupon codes, right? So, I mean, they're just an analogy. We don't really actually have coupon codes for tuition, but these things are meant for us as Student Business Services to help process your transactions to make sure you have no charges due at a university. I'm going to go through a few things today. There are a lot to cover. It's usually about 40 minutes. I do it with the financial aid. So today I'm assuming just 20 minutes and we'll leave some time for questions and answers. We'll talk about fall 2020, payment deadlines, methods, your anticipated financial aid, what that looks like, and what the Student Center is. First things first, I want to kind of address the elephant in the room. We're getting a lot of questions from students, families, and individuals about fall 2020. You may have heard it announced from our campus president a few weeks ago that we're going to begin with having most of our courses virtually. And the secondary question many students ask afterward is, hey, if we're having virtual courses, shouldn't tuition and campus-based fees be reduced since we're receiving a different product? And I just want to address that. Unfortunately, at this time, we are not reducing tuition and campus fees. I'll go into more detail about that later. But this is bound by the California state legislation, the Chancellor's Office in Long Beach, our CSU Board of Trustees, and even our Student Body Advisory Committee when they make decisions on campus fees and the charges for their accounts. One thing I want to kind of highlight is the virtual town hall meeting our president had a few months ago. He kind of commented on a few of these things that I'll address in my later slides. But I just want to get that out in the open. I think it's important for us to be transparent about it, that as of now, tuition for fall 2020 has not been changed. But if there are any updates coming along the pipeline, we will let you guys know. It's our responsibility in this university to inform our students through social media, through our website, through emails if necessary, about any changes to fees. Just keep that in mind because just like at a grocery store, the cashier does not adjust the price of pork, right? All that information is processed before it gets to us as Student Business Services. So we have to trust the decision of the CSU Chancellor's Office. So let's just get right into it. The numbers, fall 2020, these are what we're going to be looking at for tuition fees for the California residents. If you are a California resident, you'll be charged a state fee. We'll talk about the out-of-state fees in the next slide. But you see here, the CSU, we don't charge per unit. You may be familiar with maybe some community colleges or other universities that charge on a per unit basis. We don't do that at Cal State Fullerton. You are charged either part-time or full-time. We define part-time as 0 to 6 units with 1,665, full-time 7 or more units, 2,871. So that can be advantageous to a lot of students. I was formerly a student here. I graduated in 2009. I remember having a friend who, because if I took 3 classes, I'm paying the same as someone who's taking 5 classes. My friend who knew that got approval and stacked a whole bunch of courses onto his semester, about 18 units, and he graduated in 3.5 years. So he was very ambitious, and that worked for him. It didn't work for me. But it's kind of what the benefit is for part-time and full-time. If you're taking 0 to 6 units, someone enrolling in 1 class is oftentimes paying the same as someone who's taking 2 classes. So it's advantageous, and we recommend students enroll in the full 15 units to graduate in 4 years. And that will be the $2,871 for the tuition fee. And that's the same across all 23 CSU campuses. $2,871 is the full-time rate. What's different are the campus-based fees, and this is where we get a lot of questions. That $605 and 12 cents is the charge for campus-based fees for fall 2020. And this is the charge that's variable from university to university. For instance, if you go to other campuses, Cal Long Beach, their charge is about $546 per semester. CCLA is $513, Bakersfield is $838, Northridge is $617 per semester. So these numbers are variable depending on the university and their needs. And this is actually the #1 question we get from a lot of students is, hey, I'm not on campus anymore. I don't have access to the gym. I don't have access to the health facilities. Can I reduce my campus-based fees? These are called mandatory campus-based fees by the CSU, so unfortunately not, and they don't just pay for a subscription service, for instance, to the university. Many students, when they pay these fees, they're actually funding a lot of departments, funding a lot of programs, and even paying down the debt for some of the buildings we built in the past. Because we're a state agency, we're not necessarily funded 100% from the state budget. The buildings constructed don't come from the state budget, so we actually buy them off of bonds. So these campus-based fees are actually paying things down, like the new building we built for the TSU, all the facilities for the new rec center that was, I think it's about 10 years now. Campus projects, I think for spring 2020, we decided to upgrade our infrastructure for Wi-Fi. So the spring 2020 campus-based fees, some of that went toward upgrading our infrastructure so our students can have accessible Wi-Fi across campus. Understandably, we had no idea this would happen in March, but we've already paid the contract to upgrade our infrastructure for spring 2020, which is one of the reasons why spring 2020 fees were not reduced as well. Unfortunately, the CSU were not immune to the recession. We're not immune to these kind of costs. We refunded millions of dollars for students for housing as well as parking permits. So a lot of this stuff comes into play. The state budget, they release it at the end of June. So we're kind of looking at, well, what to expect for the university as a whole or the CSU as a whole. But as you can see here back to the slide, you have the tuition fees and you have the campus-based fees. That total for an undergraduate freshman partaking in full-time courses, which is 7 or more units, you're looking to pay about $3,478 and 12 cents for your state fees and campus-based fees. And part-time will be about $2,200. There is an optional $2 fee that's not in this table. But you'll see that added to your account that's due July 14th. That's called a student representation fee. You can ask us any questions if you have anything like that afterward. But that's the only optional fee. It's what we call a category 6 fee. But keep in mind, if you sign up for classes over the summer, you won't see them on your account until July 1st. That's when the next fiscal year is, and that's where we put all the charges on the accounts. For students who are out of state, for example, if you're not a California resident, maybe you're an international student, on top of your state fees and campus-based fees, there is an additional out-of-state tuition, a non-resident fee that will be charged at $396 per unit. In my table here, this is an example of someone who's taking 6 units. So that's $396 times 6, which is $2,376, or 12 units, $396 times 12, which is $4,752. It's a lot of numbers, but this is just an example for a student taking 6 units or 12 units. If you're out of state, you'll be charged about $8,228 and 12 cents if you're enrolled in 12 units. One thing to keep in mind, a lot of transfer students, a lot of incoming freshmen and international students, or anybody applying, they may have an issue on their admissions. There's like a checkbox that says, are you a resident? Many people may interpret it as, I'm not living on campus, so I'm not a resident. But if you don't check that box off, you're classified as a non-resident. So when you see your fees on July 1st, make sure you look at it. For someone who's been living their entire life in California, if you're all of a sudden paying $8,000, $9,000 for tuition, that's too high. You may be charged out-of-state fees. If that's the case, make sure you contact the residency office. We have to have that updated. I'll have information about the residency office on my last slide, but you need to contact them to update your information because you do not want to pay the out-of-state fees when you are a California resident. The same thing goes for AB 540. You can have the out-of-state fees adjusted if you are eligible under AB 540. AB 540, you have to speak to the admissions office to fill out an affidavit. and then we'll classify you as in-state tuition. But give us some more questions about that later.
Tony, can I just make a quick announcement
Sure.
since we have more people joining us? Hello, everyone. For those who just joined us, thank you for joining us. We just want to make a quick announcement that we are answering your questions today through the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. You may see there's also a chat button, so just ignore the chat button and go to the Q&A, and we have staff who are on the webinar as well who are able to answer your questions, business services related or also non-businesses related. So anything with admissions, financial aid, admissions, orientation, next steps, things like that. So that's it. Back to you, Tony.
Thank you, Nancy. We have staff members standing by to answer some questions during this chat. I didn't mention that earlier. So if you need any clarification, I'm not going to stop my presentation right now, but I'll be doing the Q&A afterward. But we have staff readily available answering questions as I speak. These are our payment deadlines. If depending on what date your course or your student enrolls in classes, that will determine what day the fees are due. For instance, if you sign up for classes right now through June 30th, you would have to pay your tuition fees by July 14th. We do have payment plans, but I'll talk about that in my next slide. If your student is signing up for classes in July, they got to pay by August 14th. That's the payment deadline. So it's kind of tiered that way. You have to pay it in Titan A, Titan B, Titan C, and these are all your respective deadlines. Again, these slides will be available afterward. I think the webinar recording will be available on the Welcome Day website. There's a link at the end and the beginning that I'll show you guys, so you can always look at these dates afterward. Prepay beginning August 28th. If a student is not signed up for classes at all until August 28th, they will be required to prepay tuition before they can sign up for courses. That makes it fair across the board. So by August 28th, every single student that has a seat in a classroom, either virtually or in person, has some buy-in toward the course, whether it's financial aid, third-party funding, or an out-of-pocket payment. So by August 28th, all students will be required to prepay tuition if they have not signed up for classes yet. And then by the deadlines, you have to have enough financial aid. I'll talk more about that later to make sure your courses are not disenrolled. If there are disenrolled, if the courses are dropped, the student will just have to re-enroll again right afterward. They lose their original classes, but they have to sign up for classes afterward to whatever is available online. The payment plan is an option. It's something the student can sign up for on their student portal. The Student Center, they have to be at least 18 years of age. Understandably, the $3,500, that's a lot of money. So we have the payment plan option to kind of break that up into 3 payments due in August, September, and October. I'll give you an example on the next slide, but it's still a lot of money. It's about $1,100, $1,200 per month. It's a little more digestible than paying the full balance up front. But this is just one service we offer just in case we want to use the payment plan option. There's a $33 charge that's going to be added on the first payment. And then you have to sign up for this after you have courses beginning July 1st. If your student is under 18, they need to sign up online. They have to sign up with a form we'll have online on our website after July 1st. Fill it out, send it over to us and during our remote services, and we'll be able to process the payment plan for these students. There is a separate non-resident payment plan tuition for students who are out of state, and that's at a 9% charge to the non-resident fees. For more questions about that, let us know. We can give you more details in the chart. So it's a little bit different than the resident payment plan. The non-resident payment plan has a different fee. So just keep that in mind and give us an email if you have any questions. This is just a sample of our payment plan. Like I said earlier, it's about $1,100, $1,200 a month. That's still a lot of money, understandably, but it's a little more manageable than paying the full balance up front. If the student signs up for the payment plan online through their portal, they can enroll, and then the first charge due will be due August 14th for the tuition and campus fees. I mentioned that $2 student representation fee earlier. That can't be put on a payment plan, so you may still see $2 due July 14th, but everything else is going to be due August 14th, September 14th, and October 14th. We're not going to drop your student's class for $2, but they will have a hold on their account if they don't pay that representation fee off by July 14th. So as you can see here, payment 1, 2, and 3, you have a third of the tuition and campus fees due on August, September, and October 14th. That's one option they can sign up for online. Again, any questions, let us know. We can break that down for each student if they want more information. Housing is going to be kind of unique this fall semester since we are still uncertain on what's going to happen with virtual instruction for students who need housing. It's still going to be available. Who, for instance, after we were advised to go remotely, we still had emergency shelter areas on campus for students who couldn't go home. For more information, I would still speak to the housing office. You can see the contact information underneath. If you're interested in housing, if you have questions about housing in fall 2020, please give them a call. Send them an email, let them know your questions, and they may be able to address that better than we can as Student Business Services. But if housing is continuing this fall semester, which we hope that we can be on campus safely, they will have the same payment deadlines as tuition, August, September, and October 14th. You're automatically enrolled. There's a housing fee at $350 that if you pay that will reduce your first housing fee about by that much, $350. The same goes for the enrollment deposit. If you pay the enrollment deposit at $250 for the fall 2020 semester, we will reduce your first payment by $250 because you already paid it. So we're going to put it toward that first payment. But the next question we always get is about financial assistance. I don't want to say financial aid because financial aid is a separate office, but this is still a type of assistance, something that will aid you financially. If you have veteran benefits, if you have DOR authorizations from the Department of Rehabilitation, maybe you have some external scholarships, 529 accounts, or sponsorships. We want to make sure we can process these things to your account before the deadline. Like I said earlier, we are the cashiers of the university. So if you are going to the cash register and you want to pay for your fees, if you had these coupon codes, these gift cards, we want to process them before you had to pay out of pocket. Maybe you had a, I don't know, I don't want to use the gift card example too much because I had a parent come up to me asking for coupons because of the analogy, but that's not the case. If you have financial aid, you're eligible for it under the DREAM application or FAFSA, you have VA benefits. We will reduce that from what you have to pay by the deadline and then protect your courses if you have a sufficient amount of payment. In this example, if tuition is about $3,500, if your aid is $2,500, you have to pay that $1,000 before the payment deadline to protect your classes. Whether it's a sponsorship, a scholarship, DOR, benefits, these things have to be in place before the deadline. I'll go into more detail in a future slide, but this is just kind of a quick example of what it looks like. If you have more aid than what's due, we'll actually give you a disbursement. If your charges are $3,500, you have $5,000 or $4,500 in financial aid and a grant or something like that, or loans. The Student Business Services Office, we will disperse $1,000 to the student's account if it's a grant or a loan. If it's a Parent Plus loan, we'll give it to the parent, but that's a different story. The same thing goes for any of these accounts. If it's a surplus and they're eligible to receive a surplus, we will disperse that to the student as a refund, a disbursement. So with financial aid, it's very, very important that we understand what we call anticipated aid. It's kind of the buzzword that we use between our two offices. Like I mentioned earlier, we're kind of married in that way. The Office of Financial Aid, although their offices are just down the hallway from us, we have to communicate virtually, especially now. We have holds on the account that says anticipated aid, no enrollment cancellation. I'll show you in the next slide. But that will let us know that they have enough aid to cover their balance due. And when there is enough aid covering their charges due, they don't have to make a payment because we know that there's something anticipated and no charges need to be paid. That's kind of how we communicate with the Office of Financial Aid, but you have to make sure that this is anticipated aid, not estimated aid. Many students, I know you're still waiting for your fall 2020 financial aid information, but that comes later on. We don't get the 2020-2021 budget until end of June, beginning of July. So just be patient. Financial aid will probably package it before the July 14th deadline, or they will let us know what we can do with a student's account to protect it from anticipated aid. So just keep that in mind. If a financial aid is oftentimes determined by the unit load. For example, there's a federal Pell Grant. If you are taking 12 units or more, they'll give you 100% of what you're eligible for. But if you drop down to 9 units, down to 6 units, down to 3 units, they're going to change the amount that's awarded to you. So many students will actually get a charge on their account because they dropped down to 9 units. Now we gave them too much financial aid and we want some of it back. So keep that in mind for students who are enrolled in courses during the term. That may be adjusted if they drop courses because financial aid, we're intending to give them money to take classes. If they're not taking the required amount of classes, then unfortunately, they'll be reduced and they won't be asked to take the money back. This is what the hold looks like on the right-hand side. Anticipated aid, no enrollment cancellation. I apologize if I'm talking really quickly, going really fast. My wife is on the phone at work right now, so I'm talking over her so you can't hear her, but I apologize if her sound is coming through. It's a beautiful sound, but not for this meeting. So anticipated aid, no enrollment cancellation hold. If this is on the student's account, that's great. That means they don't have to make a payment. This hold means their enrollment will not be canceled because of sufficient anticipated aid. So this hold will only show up if their aid is greater than or equal to the charges due on the account. If you're in the last example I showed, if your financial aid is only $2,500 and you owe $3,500, once you pay that $1,000 difference, this hold will show up. So as long as your aid is greater than or equal to the charges due, you should be fine. As long as this hold is on your account, because this is protecting your classes from being dropped. But if the hold is not present, pay the difference or give us a call financial aid. We can see what's going on with your account. But we want to make sure we protect as many students as possible. The Office of Financial Aid, they're going to be slammed with a lot of questions around July, around the payment deadline. So be patient with them. They're working with a lot of information. About 27,000 students receive financial aid, and they're given like a window of 2 weeks to process all that because the budget's not released for the state of California until the end of June. So just be patient with them. They're processing things as quickly as possible, which is why it's important to turn in your documents ahead of time. So let's say there's now leftover financial aid. If surplus aid is applicable, we will send it to the student. Unless it's a Parent Plus loan, we'll send that to the parent. But we highly recommend direct deposit. The student can sign up for direct deposit online through the Student Center. They just enroll in direct deposit. They put the correct bank account information from a local United States bank. And then when there's a disbursement, they don't have to wait in the mail. Wait for the mail to get the check. So every single semester around September, we get a stack of checks this big. We're still getting them right now. So we don't want these undeliverable checks to go to the wrong hands or not into the bank account. Some of these checks are thousands of dollars from student loans. If you don't have direct deposit, we're waiting on the mail. If the student moved around in the apartments or to different locations through the terms and they never updated their mailing address, it's going to go to the wrong location. So we highly encourage direct deposit to avoid all of these issues just so that we can correctly attribute these funds to the student. Again, we'll mail to the mailing address if there's no direct deposit on file, so make sure that mailing address is completely up to date. If you want to make a payment, you can make it remotely. Currently, we have suspended our in-person payments option. Since fees aren't even due until July 14th, we should be okay for now unless they're taking summer school. Come talk to us if you have any questions about that, or you could visit our website. But it's very important to make a payment online to avoid coming on campus right now until the state of California lifts these restrictions and we can safely go on campus with the precautions and guidelines. If you're paying online, we highly recommend the e-check or the ACH option. There's no service fee. You just need a bank account routing number from a local United States bank, not a US bank, not that branch, but just like a bank from a local in the country of the United States. Then you can use the bank account routing number to process that payment electronically. If you use a card online, whether it's debit or credit, there is a 2.75% merchant fee. It doesn't go to us, it goes to Visa, it goes to MasterCard, it goes to American Express. So we don't recommend it because if you're paying thousands of dollars in tuition, we do not recommend putting 2.75% on top of that. That's a chunk of change that doesn't go to the state, it doesn't go to, it leaves the student's family, and it goes to MasterCard, Visa, and all those companies. So we encourage using an e-check to avoid paying fees online. 2.75% is a lot. There's also the international fund transfer option. If you're making a payment overseas, Flywire, Western Union Business Solutions, you can make a payment through our portal to process it through their website. It takes about 3 to 5 business days, so plan accordingly. If we have a payment deadline, let's say today was a payment deadline and we had a student use Flywire today, it's not going to get to us on time because they have to process it through their bank, our bank, that has to go overseas, that has to be wired correctly and verified. So it takes 3 to 5 business days. So please make these payments ahead of time so we can avoid that. If you pay online, it's instantaneous, but through international fund transfers, it's going to take some time. And that's the same thing for mail. Do not mail cash. The payments must be received by our deadline or before the deadline because we don't honor the postmark dates. We have to receive it in our office. Although we are working remotely, we do have staff going on campus weekly processing mail-in transactions and things that get to our office. So we will be processing them by the payment deadline, but our main office is not open. We'll just have people staffed inside processing these things at a safe distance, safely, because of the physical distancing requirements and for safety. So make sure you send it to us. If you're mailing it to us, it can't be, we're not going to honor the postmark dates. We had a student, if you're sending us a payment deadline for today, if you mail it in yesterday, it might not get to us in time. So these students, unfortunately, we don't get the check in the mail. They email us. We recommend you can still make the payment online through eCheck, and then we'll just ask you what you want to do with a payment when it gets to our office. There's our mailing address, Gordon Hall 180. If you had the chance to take the tour virtually, we are at that round orange building on campus to take payments and answer questions when we were there. It's a very beautiful building. We hope you can get to see it this fall. So as I mentioned, third-party funding like scholarships and financial aid, veteran fee waivers, these things, I'm gonna leave this on the screen. And again, this webinar is available online afterwards, so you can take a screenshot or Google these offices for more information. If you have veteran benefits, if you have CSU fee waivers, sponsorships, and these kind of authorizations, please submit that to us ahead of time. If you give us these documents on a payment deadline, they will not be processed for the deadline. You may be required to pay out of pocket first, and then we'll reimburse whatever was overpaid afterward. But please process these documents. We suggest 2 weeks before the deadline, just so we can get the proper runtime to process them and apply them to your account before you have to pay out of pocket if you had enough. Same thing for scholarships. Many students will bring us a scholarship check for like $5,000. Hey, I got this scholarship from Pepsi Company for my tuition. Here you go. And they hand it to us on the payment deadline. A scholarship check is not a payment. We have to take that, deposit it, process it. It has to go through the Office of Financial Aid to verify. There's some tax implications before it even gets back to us to put onto the account. That whole process takes about 4 to 6 weeks. So giving us a scholarship check on a payment deadline will not be in time to pay that deadline whatever the charges are due at that time. So please give us that information ahead of time. 529, same thing. But you may have to pay out of pocket first, and then we will reimburse you afterward if there's an overpayment on your account. We're not Target, we're not Macy's. We won't be sending you guys paper mail. We don't bill you guys for you to rip apart on the perforated part and mail back to us these payments. All of these things are done online through your student's email. We are also the university's collection agency, so we will be sending a lot of emails. So I apologize ahead of time. They may be very annoying, but it's our responsibility as Student Business Services to remind students that there are payment deadlines. Understandably, right now, it's a very weird time. Very challenging, historic time, as many people are saying. So payment deadlines are not the first thing on your mind. Unfortunately, even with fees, this is just something that has to be done. We have to make sure students are reminded to make payments for tuition in the fall semester or even in the summer. So we have 40,000 students. If we can remind just one person to protect the courses and make a payment on time, it's worth it to us to annoy 39,999 people because that may not be the first thing on their mind. Once they make that payment, their classes are protected and they can disregard any future emails if they have no charges due. The emails are generated usually automatically. If you have a balance due, there's a report that's run and then an email sent out to anybody with any charges due, even if there's financial aid. Because if there's financial aid on the account as anticipated aid, it's not paid yet. So if you see that email and you have enough anticipated aid to cover your balance, you can disregard the email, but only if you have enough of the financial aid that's anticipated to cover all of your charges due. You can find that information out on your Student Center. There's a link for account inquiry where I pointed a red arrow to under the finances window. The student will be more familiar with this during the summer. There's going to be an orientation, I believe, giving a heads up what to expect for a lot of incoming students. And this is the Student Center. I'll show a screenshot later of what the Student Center is of all the information they can benefit from. But yeah, account inquiry, very, very useful tool. On the same page for the Student Center, there is an area called Authorized to Release because the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, or FERPA, if you hear us call it that. We have to protect the privacy of students' education records. Understandably, parents pay the tuition for a lot of times, and when they call us, they ask for information about the student's account. Even though they pay the tuition, it's still the student's educational record that we have to protect for privacy reasons. And we are not allowed to release that information without their authorization. So a student can do a release if they go to the Student Center. There's an authorized to release link. They can input which parent or which guardian or individual that they want to release the information to. They'll give that person a unique 4-digit PIN. So when you call us, you can say, hey, I'm on the list. Here's my PIN, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then when you give us that information, we can say, okay, yes, the student has authorized to release the information to you, and then we can share that information from their account, whatever they authorize. Understandably, it's even if you pay the tuition, it's their account that we're protecting. It's their debt that is what's being protected because of this FERPA Act. If you want to pay the tuition without having authorized to the account, the student can set up a parent PIN. They may not want you to look at their information, but they definitely want your money. So there is a function for you to establish a parent PIN, or the student can establish a parent PIN. There's a link on this page to the Student Center. It says make a payment right here. When they make a payment, that goes to our cashiering website, and there's a link underneath there that says create a parent PIN. They can get that information, send a link to the parent to make a payment online through that cashier portal, but they will still not be able to access this Student Center without the student's permission. This is what the student will be more familiar with in the fall semester or toward the end of summer. You can see the holds on the right, the to-do list, your tax information, your academics. You can see when the student has classes, it will show up right there where it says welcome to the Student Center. You can make a payment online. On the left-hand side, that's where you can sign up for direct deposit, enroll in a payment plan, access your account inquiry for more information. So that's key information for your student when they are looking into this information for themselves. When I was a student here, this page, although they didn't have this page until 2008, I graduated in 2009. I was a freshman in 2004. We had really, really old systems. So I'm really grateful for this. I had to, one of the ways for me to sign up for classes was over a phone, where I would punch in the numbers and then they would say, your class is full, punch in another number, and then it just took a long time. Everything now is on the Student Center where they could add classes like the shopping cart. It's very functional, very intuitive, very innovative for a lot of our students. And this is all funded by campus-based fees. This system is something that does cost money to maintain, to operate, and to allow students to use, all funded by our campus-based fees. So hopefully they'll have more access to the Student Center after orientation. They can probably look at it right now if they have their campus-wide ID number and a PIN. Oops. This is our website, sbs.fullerton.edu. I apologize if I spoke too quickly. We do have a lot of other information available on our website. We highly encourage visiting it. We get about 15,000 visitors a month just checking out fees, payments, support deadlines. Maybe you've already visited. It's still a work in progress. We're trying to upgrade and update things to be more visually appealing and informative to our public. Follow us on Instagram, CSUF SBS. We're trying to post some relevant information there as well. We have a live chat option. There's a link right there on our main page. It's also on every subset page where you can talk to a live person during our operation hours through live chat. You can call us on the phone. We're pretty proud that even though we went to remote services, we never skipped a beat in terms of answering phone calls, emails, and live chat. So contact us, Student Business Services. We're separate from the Office of Financial Aid. So they have a completely different system, and we support them because we're married to their office. We want to work with them very detailed. We know some general financial aid information, but for a lot of details about your account, we would recommend talking to the Office of Financial Aid. But if there's more information you want to find on our website, please do sbs.fullerton.edu. Here's our contact information. We're open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., but our phone lines are kind of cut at 4:45. So give us a call at that time. Our live chat hours currently are 9 to 4. We may widen that window in case we have a larger demand for it, but that will be posted on our website as well. Email us, we will respond during operating hours, and you can follow on Instagram. So that's our contact information. I'll leave it here also, but we want to open this time for Q&A. I'm just going to leave the screen on this page for you to, if you want to copy the link down to see this recording afterward. Our campus partners, Office of Financial Aid, Veteran Resource Centers, Housing. You can see their contact information, 529s, and our contact information as well. So that concludes what I wanted to say in terms of my presentation. Thank you for attending. I want to open up in the Q&A right now. So we have a few questions here. We have 38 answered. Pretty cool. So let's look at this right now. Hannah, you said, where does the extra $1,000 come from? You saw online that the financial aid package, that the tuition total was $6,000. I think that's the estimate. Many students online, when they're preparing for which university to, when they want to make a decision on which university to attend in the fall, the Office of Financial Aid will throw this estimated award, estimated package, estimated cost for families to make that educated decision. The $3,000, the $6,000 probably you're seeing is fall and spring. What I quoted earlier in my slide is just the fall semester, about $3,500. So fall semester, spring semester, all have different charges. Summer, winter, also different fees as well. But that is that type of information that we will be, that's why it may have been around $6,000 when you saw the estimate. So let's see. I did not get an email reminder to log into the webinar because it's not like students are ready. You can check how much FAFSA is on the Pell Grant. You can financially, I'm going to try to understand the question a little bit better. If it's about fall 2020 Pell Grants, you have to wait until the Office of Financial Aid puts that official award on your account. We're anticipating probably early to mid-June, hopefully around mid-June when they get that package information. But give them a call. If it's about summer Pell Grants, that should already be on your account. If it's not, please contact the Office of Financial Aid just to find out what the hang-up is. We want to see what details there are. You can reach that 657-278-3125. Find out more information about your Pell Grants for fall and summer. Again, fall financial aid probably won't be packaged until later in the summer around that time. E-check question, I don't know what that question is about. You do not have to pay by e-check. That's just one option. We highly recommend it because there are no fees for e-check. E-check options, you just need a bank account, bank routing number, and there's no 2.75% merchant fee. That's highly encouraged because, like as I was saying earlier, if you're paying thousands of dollars in tuition, 2.75% of that's a hefty sum. On the California Student Aid CSCA account, it says you're missing your GPA. How does that affect your aid? You need to talk to the Office of Financial Aid. They may need to update your financial aid information so that you can have that thoroughly answered and updated on your account. The same goes with your financial aid award in my next question. A lot of these estimated amounts are still on your account because they are determining or helping you make an educated decision of what you may get as estimated for fall 2020 for you to decide to come to Cal State Fullerton in the fall. But these estimated, that word will disappear later in the summer, and then you will be able to see the anticipated aid when the Office of Financial Aid clears that through. So just give the Office of Financial Aid a call, but be patient with them. There's a lot they're working on. We recently processed the CARES Act for the university. About 27,000 individual students were processed by the Office of Financial Aid. It was a huge feat that they had to do this on top of summer aid and on top of the fall 2020 deadline. So they did a lot behind the scenes. On May 8th, they got slammed with 2 deadlines, and they're trying to turn around as many things as possible to the students and to the families. So thank you for your patience. I bumped into my financial aid friend when I was collecting mail on campus a few weeks ago. And they got these bins and bins of mail they had to sort through. And there are essential workers on campus processing all the documents you're mailing, all the information, all the emails, the thousands of emails they're receiving. They're processing that as they are received. So just be patient with them. You should see the estimated information disappear throughout the summer, and then you'll have that replaced with anticipated. The Office of Financial Aid, they also have scholarships available. If you go to their website, I don't have it pulled up here, but fullerton.edu/financial aid, there's a tab there specifically for scholarships if you want to visit their webpage. When you see the scholarships you can apply from, one way they describe it is like match.com, where you can send one letter and then they'll try to match what scholarships you're eligible for with that one letter, and they open it up, I think, in January. So speak to their office about the scholarships that's available for the 2020-2021 year. So what else is there? The Parent Plus loan is it stands for parental loan for undergraduate students, I believe. So if a student has housing charges, for instance, that they max out their loans, they max out their grants, but there's still leftover funding that they may need for the student, they can get a Parent Plus loan. The Parent Plus loan is tied to the parent, and it goes to their credit score, the parent's credit, and then the money will go to the student to pay for whatever they need to through the university. Anything left over will go to the parent afterward, but please talk to the Office of Financial Aid. They are the ones that kind of monitor that. The Parent Plus loan will be, there's a form you have to fill out with the Office of Financial Aid to determine eligibility. And then after they let us know as Student Business Services, we'll put that money on the account. I'm the first one to call my family and do the family issues. I've been juggling many things. I feel like I'm missing some information. I was wondering if I could get some help. Absolutely. Please contact us. We're all available on phones right now. If you want to call us, we can give you a personal approach to what's happening with your situation. We want to know what's going on in your, to help you make an educated decision on what to expect this fall. Unfortunately, tuition is not free. That's just a reality that we have to address. And that's our responsibility as Student Business Services to make that information readily available to the public, to the families, to the students, so we can all make this educated decision together to graduate successfully. Because when I was an undergrad here, my orientation, I remember our orientations are usually right after lunch on a really hot day. and then someone's talking to you for a really long time. So I just fell asleep. So I apologize to orientation leaders if you're listening to this. I fell asleep during orientation and I didn't really pay attention. But I graduated. I successfully was able to navigate through the red tape, all the policies through university, because there are a lot of staff members willing to help me hold my hand and guide me through all the policies and procedures to graduate in time and at my pace and customized to me. So I highly encourage talking to an advisor. All the services are still available online through Zoom, through email. So speak to them and how they can help you through your situation. So they can personalize the advice to you to make an educated decision together. So you don't have to do this by yourself. That's our job. We are public servants to make sure students get not only get an education, but are educated in how this process works. So please come talk to us and find more information that way. How come you not receive emails from student business services or financial aid? We don't have a subscription base for these emails. They are linked to the email address on the student's account. So if the student has an email address, a personal email, a school email, all of our information is sent straight to them. We're not like Uber Eats, we're going to spam you with coupons every single day. So we don't want to send a whole bunch of spam subscription type emails to students at this time. So what we send students is only pertinent information about their accounts. So if they have a balance due, they have issues on their account that they need to address, that's what our emails are about. And because of FERPA laws, it has to go to the student because it's their account, their information. Many students will also share this with their families if they'd like to. I know some students would just forward the emails to their parents. Yeah, I got this letter, help me pay my tuition. So things along those natures when they want to work together as a family, how they want to address their tuition concerns. They would have to determine that within the household. So unfortunately, so we don't have a subscription to these emails, but sign up for our Instagram. It's free. You don't need to sign up for anything on your email account for it. You can just follow us. We try to post some relevant information as readily available as possible, but you can also email us if you have any questions, but just keep in mind the FERPA laws. When is the deadline to accept, reject financial aid awards? I don't think there's an official deadline. For instance, even though the priority deadline has passed, I think it was May 8th for the 2020-2021 financial aid, you can still submit a FAFSA application right now. You just won't be considered in the first batch, but you can still submit it. We have many students still submitting a financial aid application or dream loan application for the 2019-2020 calendar year. They may not have access to all the funds available, but they can at least get accepted for loans or be considered for any additional funding that's still left over. So it's not too late to sign up for financial aid, but please do so immediately if you haven't done so for the fall 2020 and spring 2021 semester. I think I already answered the first one, the CSCA account, a missing GPA. How does that affect your aid? You may need to speak with the Office of Financial Aid about that one, since they are the ones to address aid and award eligibility. If you have financial aid money left over, will we get it all at the same time or half in the fall, half in the spring? We break them up in terms. So right now we're only going to deal with fall. We can't award financial aid in the spring because we don't know how many courses you're taking. If you're not taking any classes in the spring, we can't give you financial aid because that's what's contingent on receiving this award. The government, even for loans, we won't give you any loans without any classes. So for spring, we just have to wait for the spring semester enrollment. Right now, what we're accessing is only fall 2020 fall 2020 financial aid should be on the account later in the summer. And anything left over for the fall would be dispersed to the student, usually about a week before the semester begins. And the spring will be something likewise. So we'll repeat the whole process again. Not the whole process, but the waiting for the aid disbursement process about the beginning of spring, probably mid to late January for spring. The next question, my anticipated aid says I have accepted Parent Plus loan, but I checked and I haven't accepted anything yet. For loans, all loans, I believe there are 2 items you still have to complete after accepting it. There's the master promissory note and the loan counseling before we can authorize it and put it to your account. If it's for fall, keep in mind we haven't processed those yet. Namely, A, we don't have fees on the account until July 1st. And B, the Office of Financial Aid has to package all the awards, look at the charges due, work with us, and then we put it onto your account. So as your payment deadline is approaching, whether it's July 14th or August 14th, come talk to us. We want to make sure that's there before the payment deadline. But that anticipated aid probably will show up around that time yet for all loans, Parent Plus loan, Stafford loan, unsubsidized, all those kinds of loans. So just keep an eye on that. That probably will be showing up later. You can contact the Office of Financial Aid for more information if you have that. How do you do an e-check to avoid the 2.5% interest rate on top of the $8,000 tuition? When you want to make a payment, this slide right here, make a payment, it takes you to our cashiering website. It's called CashNet. We may be moving to a different software later. It's not a scam. It looks like a scam, but it's not. If you click this link from the Student Center, it's our page. So when you visit that site, there are payment options, just like if you're going to Amazon. Do you want to pay by credit card? Do you want to pay by X, Y, and Z? If you select eCheck/ACH, you will not have to pay the extra merchant fee, the 2.75%. Any card payment, credit or debit card, will have that merchant fee. I think the credit card companies, if you use a debit card online, they'll charge you like it's a credit card. So don't use a debit card online. Use the bank account associated with that debit card to make it ACH or eCheck payment to avoid that 2.75%, because it is kind of hefty. We don't want that heftiness in the given circumstances as well. I think I answered Yesenia's question about the half fall and half spring question. Estimated cost is about $10,000 a semester, but I'm a resident and a commuter. They estimate that original estimate they give from the Office of Financial Aid, they throw in like a general number for housing, because even if you're not living on campus, you still got to pay rent somewhere. If you're living at home, they factor that in, but that does not affect your financial aid to my knowledge. They factor in books, they factor in gas if you're commuting, a parking permit if you needed one. So that all that estimated amount, that $10,000 or so that they gave you as an estimate, includes some of these items that students may have to pay. It's not an exact number, but it's just something the Office of Financial Aid gives to the students and the families so they can make that educated decision. Is Cal State Fullerton right for me this fall semester, given how much tuition is going to cost? Because you may have out-of-state tuition, you may have other costs associated with it. Living on campus costs a little additional with housing fees. So we just want to give that number to give you a quick basis on what to expect. Do we do workshops on financial literacy and post stuff related to that on Instagram? Yes, we will be. We are brand new on Instagram, so follow us, please. Not that we're desperate, but we like to have a lot of community engagement so we can answer questions. We know our students are evolving. When I was a student here, Instagram was relatively new. I think my first post was in 2011. But now social media is changing and we want to be able to reach our students effectively. So we had YouTube videos on our website, but they're not very viewed. So we're trying to evolve our way to communicate to our population as best as we can through Instagram. And we don't offer workshops currently, but we are available over the phone. We have personal one-on-one. When we were on campus, we had personal one-on-one conferences with students and their families to talk about these kind of issues. If you're interested, send us an email. We'll talk to you about that. We can maybe arrange something to do workshops on financial literacy. But if it's the general financial literacy you're talking about, like mutual funds, savings, paying down debt, that stuff we do, I believe, have some services offered by our finance departments, but unfortunately it's not related to student business services. Students may need to look for those resources elsewhere. But that's probably a good thing for us to kind of partner with maybe later on. So that's a great idea, Joseph Rivera. I think something along those lines might be useful for our students, and that's something we can probably approach with other departments on campus to make a partnership with that. Thank you. Grace asks, if I have the funds, can I make a payment early? Yes, you can, but you have to wait till July 1st. Right now, there are no charges on the account, so you can't make a payment. The money is just going to go onto the student's account and refund it right back because we can't hold that fund. So wait till July 1st, even though if your payment deadline is July 14th or August 14th, you can pay ahead of time. If you don't want to make the payment plan, you don't want to worry about it. Many families just want to pay it all at once if they have the means to, and that's perfectly fine. But wait till July 1st when the funds are on, charges are on the account. Students have to sign up for classes first before we can see any funds to pay for. So yeah, you can wait. You can pay ahead of time. I didn't get a financial aid award yet. Is this normal? And if it is, when do I receive it? So financial aid will be coming around probably this summer. If you completed your FAFSA, please have the students check the Student Center. On this page right here, there's usually a to-do list. Maybe they're missing documents. Maybe there's information that's incomplete. That's the most important thing for them to check right now is their to-do list. It's possible they needed like updated parent tax filing information that they have to have submitted to the university before they can update the financial aid award. That's possible. Without looking at the student's account directly, I can't say what the issue is, but please contact the Office of Financial Aid at this information right here about the student's account. But likely fall 2020 awards will happen around the summer, probably if you were in the priority bucket, maybe mid to late July or around that time when they're processing, and again in August before the term begins. But they roll out weekly. So just give them a call if you have any questions, and we'll see what we can do to help address that as the time comes. But again, even if it's not officially awarded, we have this anticipated aid hold. If that's on your account, you don't have to make a payment because we know it's coming through the pipeline. Let's see. When is the deadline to accept? I think I answered that question. It was officially May 8th for priority applications. It's still not too late. Talk to the Office of Financial Aid to find out what happens if you submit your FAFSA application now for fall 2020, spring 2021. But it's not too late. It's never too late. Please call the Finance Department to help first-generation students that don't have the means to pay tuition all at one time. We're looking into Snapchat, TikTok, and those kinds of things. Right now, we just dive right into Instagram. Social media is a huge beast when we want to make sure we have the staffing to maintain it and to be attentive to all of our students at the same time. The last thing we want is to absorb a whole bunch of service options and not be able to maintain it because of our staffing needs. What we have now is great customer service based on what we within our resources. As we slowly move forward and expand our resources, we will expand to more collaborations with the finance department, financial aid, and other ways for us to interact with our students to pass down information, whatever means necessary. If you asked me in 2005, oh, cool, there's an Instagram page for a financial office, I would kind of laugh at that. It's like, why would I need an Instagram page for I don't know, for a bank? But you never know, right? It's a great way for information to be readily available and our responsibility to make that information readily available. But keep in mind, each medium has different types of audiences and different types of information. I will still point us to the website for the most relevant information because that's going to remain the same for the most part. Go to our website because there's more information, more details available on our website than there will be on any social media platform. So we highly encourage going to our website first and foremost, or please give us a call at our contact information. Will we be paying for extra fees if classes are online? There are no additional, someone's throwing around there's a rumor going out about a pandemic fee. That's a rumor. There's no such thing on our campus. Fees, campus-based fees, every semester they are scheduled to increase by 1.03%. So a lot of students saw, whoa, campus-based fees went up by 15 bucks. They're increasing this on us during a pandemic. That's not fair. That's not the case. Cal State Fulton did not increase tuition and campus-based fees because of this pandemic. Campus-based fees went up by 1.03% because they were scheduled to go up every single school year. Went up 1.03% fall 2019 from the previous year, and that's what the issue is. So keep that in mind that there are no additional fees for going online. There are some courses offered by, I believe, Extension and some departments that have this weird, this unique distance fee that's charged by the department. But that's predominantly more involved with graduate courses or credential kind of classes that are that require that additional funding to pay for services because of that course. But for just a generic balance for undergraduate state California students, there are no additional fees for online classes. And I want to kind of give us this background about online classes since that topic's on everyone's mind right now. I think there's a lot of concerns about why fall is online first. Many students, families say, hey, I'm not getting what I paid for. Students are now paying the same amount of tuition for less of an experience at Cal State Fullerton. And I want to just address that that is something that the university has taken into consideration. That is one of the reasons we decided to go virtually so soon. Instead of saying, hey, we're going to go virtual like in July before the semester begins, we made a decision right now. Namely because a lot of our professors for the spring 2020 semesters, they planned a class to be in person, a lecture to be in person, to have tests in person. So when they're asked to flip that switch and go virtually, the product that they created for the students is not the same because that product was intended to be in person. So we apologize ahead of time, or if the experience for a lot of our spring 2020 students were not up to par with what they paid for. We were adapting to this weird situation and professors were doing what they could given the circumstances. But our president announced that we wanted to go virtually first. In CNN, he had an interview last month to say it's easier to go virtual than physical than it is from physical to virtual. And one of the reasons is we want to give our professors a lot of time to prepare for classes. Now, over the summer, they can prepare a product that's a virtual product for our students so they are getting the money they paid for. Yes, the on-campus experience has changed, and that is true across the nation, across the world. And that's just something we couldn't plan for. But we want to address what we can with the money the students are paying for. Tuition is expensive. We're not gonna beat around the bush and say, just reach into your pocket and pay $3,500. So in order to give a high quality product, we went virtually first with plans in place in case we can transition to in-person later. So our professors can have more time to prepare this product for our students. It's understood that tuition is expensive. So we wanna make sure that students who are paying this, first-time students going to college, this is a shock, right? Maybe you went to community colleges were largely funded by the state of California to now pay $33 per unit to $3,500. That's a lot of money. So we want to make sure we meet that with your needs to educate you guys, to give you guys a product for this fall semester. Is it going to be perfect? We'll try. Is it going to meet everybody's expectations? Most likely not. And that was the case in person as well. But we are definitely trying as an institution, as a university, as Student Business Services, seeing what we can do to offer a high quality product for our students this fall semester. I'm sitting at home right now. I'm glad to be with my wife, but there's that energy to be on campus that's different. Even this webinar, when I usually present this to orientation, people laugh at my jokes and I kind of fed off of that. But right now I'm just talking to my own slideshow. I don't even know if anyone's listening. But the energy on campus is what we strive for, what we want, and what we want to maintain when we go virtually this fall semester. If it's safe, if we want to maintain that for the safety of our students, our staff, our faculty, and we're going to depend on the decision of state governments before we tap into that idea of going in person. So keep that in mind. We're hoping for great things this fall semester. Yes, we hope to be in person, but we have to wait for the decision on the higher ups, government officials, health officials, and our chancellor's office and our president. Last few questions. We're almost at 12 o'clock. When will I be able to view my 2021 financial aid? That's going to be part of your 2020 package. It'll likely have, likely appear probably mid-July. Hopefully, if you were part of the first package, if you turn in your financial aid award early. But speak with the Office of Financial Aid. They're working through thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of applications. So they're taking time. They're going through it individually, person to person. So it's going to take time, especially when the state budget is not even released till the end of June. When you're expecting the Office of Financial Aid to process 20,000 state grants in like a span of 2 weeks, it's going to take a long time. So please be patient with them, and we thank you. Just cooperate with the timeline, because given right now this circumstance, everyone's working with a lot of extra layers as well. So thank you for your patience. Is CSUF using online traditional or on Titanium or on Canvas? I heard they're transitioning to Canvas, but that's still like in the pipeline. I would speak to the student affairs offices, because they handle all the academia side of it. I apologize, it's outside my realm of expertise from student finances, but I would speak to them about that, because they have more information through how they're gonna implement courses through either Titanium or Canvas this fall semester. In CCC, it's $46 a unit. Well, webinar does help though. Oh, thank you. Hopefully you're talking about this one. If not, then hopefully you did. If I'm only viewing loans right now, do I still wait to July to view my financial aid package? Maybe. Unfortunately, a lot of our answers have to be depends. So speak with the Office of Financial Aid. There could be a number of variables affecting your financial aid package. So 657-278-3125 is your contact information. Put the information right back here as we end. But they should be able to give you more details, whether now or maybe in a few weeks. So I think that's all the questions I have here. So yeah, thank you for your time. Although we didn't get to meet in person, I'm glad we got to participate in this new medium. I want to thank Outreach and Recruitment for organizing this webinar for us. It's a great experience. It'll be recorded and posted on their website. There's a link below there. We're available if you want to talk to us, live chat, Instagram, phone, email. We want to answer all these questions. Like I said before, we want to partner with you guys to make this educated decision about tuition. It's not free. It's unfortunate that that's the case right now, but we want to have as many resources available for funding, for information, for our students, so we can graduate successfully, because that's what helped me. And to be honest, that's why a lot of us do it here. So thank you for this time. I'm going to turn it back to Nancy to kind of conclude our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tony. You did a great job. It was so informative. I hope everyone got, their answers, their questions answered, and have a clear understanding of the department's student business services. Please use this slide if you need to bookmark our webinar's website. The recording today will be posted shortly, probably early next week. Please feel free to reach out to us via email, Instagram. Like Tony said, we are here to support you. Everyone in our departments are here to support you during this time. So please feel free to reach out and connect with us. With that said, the webinar, it's now 12:01, so we are going to conclude. Hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Thank you again for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.